Sound of Freedom debuted on the 4th of July, 2023, after 5 years of opposition, concerned itself with the $150 billion human trafficking and pedophilia crisis.
Interviews with like Jim Caviezel and Alex Jones, and they're talking about topics like this. Do you think that hurts the movie's success?
Where do you think this began?
We could think about 9/11 when they did the Patriot Act. So 1 through 10, what would you rate this movie?
Hi, I'm Fred Satilli.
And I'm Shane Schildmeyer.
And Shane and I have just seen the movie The Sound of Freedom, and we're here to talk about it. Shane, what did you see?
My first impression of this movie was it's going to be very, very intense. And after having seen it, it was pretty intense.
When you speak about the intensity like that, just the clips that we watched, I forgot what a strain it was on me to even watch through. The movie's 2.5 hours long, and it never stops. You're bombarded with these horrible scenes and these terrible situations, and it's exponential. Not only do we have these kids who've been captured and need to have rescue, but you had a government that wasn't compliant. They said, you rescued enough kids, we don't really have a budget, just come home, you did a great job. Some people don't do as well as you in their whole career, you've got nothing to prove. And I'm like, that's a crisis in itself. Yes. Like, that guy is a problem, But to answer your question, I knew the movie was coming. And I have a lot of experience with this, so I knew it was going to be horrifying. And I was steeled for it. I went in there as a stoic. Okay. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to learn the information. I'm going to see what they present. I'm going to be objective. But there was no way I could be prepared for the volume, the intensity. When Mira Sorvino says, oh, the government's, they're out, yeah, quit your job, go save those kids. Those little things, there's a million of them. Every scene. I mean, I don't know if it was an editor's paradise or an editor's nightmare making this movie, because every little snippet is a message, a message, a message, a message. And it's, after 2.5 hours, I don't see how you could leave that movie and not want to take another person to that movie or talk about that movie.
Be supportive of the message, yeah.
I was eager to have this conversation, and we're not even going to do it justice. You have to go to the movie.
Had you have heard of the movie, because, it was shelved by Disney, I believe since 2018, it's been finished. Had you have heard of the movie before this? Before Angel Studios had purchased it?
I had, and for some reason I was dismissive. I was like, well, it must not be that good, or who makes a movie like that, and why isn't it being shown like in private theaters or here or there? And that just goes to show you the government complicity. That they're able to shut down everybody and everything. And there are people, look, Epstein's Island. Members of the British Crown went there. The Hollywood elites went there. The government went there, right? Bill Clinton.
The Clintons, yep.
They captured this guy. They have vast videotaping of all this stuff. Not one person has been brought to task.
No, yeah.
Not one. What does that tell you? What does that? They're protecting an untold volume of people doing unthinkable things.
And I realized, oh my God, I love Sound of Freedom. It really is an amazing film.
And this girl in the movie who was already abused sexually from who knows what age.
God hear their cries. All tears are not wet. All tears are not wet. The sound of freedom. Mommy, Daddy, where are you?
Yeah, so this is a very serious topic, a very serious issue that's growing. Why do you think so many people are saying this movie is for right-wing conspiracy theorists and QAnon members?
I hate this question. I really do, because I don't like trashing people. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for your karma to point out flaws in people or anything like that. But there is a vast minority in America of people who just will not acknowledge the truth. 3 years ago, gasoline was $3. Now it's $5. Don't tell me the economy is better. These people coming over the border, they're not nice, innocent people just looking for a better life with a decent job in America so that they can live just like me. Not at all. Not at all. They're being brought over by a cartel of criminals who are making a fortune doing it. And we are not only allowing it, we're supporting it.
Or one American child, or one American trafficker. What reason D.C. would let you within 1 million miles of this? And a bunch of glamour shots of Miss Cartagena don't count.
She has the girl.
And I say the girl's in Russia. Prove me wrong.
It's over, Tim. Close up, get on a plane, and come back home.
I'm an old man, you're a young man. Okay? I've watched the country degenerate far more than you. Okay. You're 30 years old, and you went to school, you went to college, and so you're a product of that, which scares me right off the bat, because a lot of indoctrination is done there.
Yes.
But I wonder, when you see a problem like this, where do you think this began?
You know, we could think about 9/11 when they did the Patriot Act, and that was one of the earliest invasions of our rights and our privacies that I could think of. But then I could think about, like, when I was going to college, I was going to Cal State LA, and we were supposed to have Ben Shapiro come and do a speech at our school. And back then, I didn't really know who Ben Shapiro was. I just, you know, I heard people say, oh, he's crazy, he's extreme right wing, he's super religious, blah, 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 blah. I didn't care too much, to be honest. I was like, yeah, he probably is. So my school, they protested him. They didn't let him come speak. They ended up shutting down his speech. He never came. He never got to talk to anyone. And there were some students who wanted to go talk to him. At the time, I didn't think it was a big deal. And then we come fast forward a little bit more to COVID and the lockdowns and how we were told to stay home and told, you know, we can't have different opinions about what's going on. And we just had to trust the science and listen to what these people were telling us. If I look at all those things now, I can see that we are going, everything is trajecting in a direction where if you don't have the right opinion, if you don't believe what we believe, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're not allowed to question authority. Wouldn't you assume, with all the technology that we have today, this trafficking would be less of a problem?
You know, there's a camera at every intersection, and we have facial recognition software, right? And yet, why can't we find 85,000 children? Because we don't want to. If we wanted to find those kids, we'd have them by the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, round them up, you know. And that's the truth is that the government does not want to address this. And I believe that they're being paid not to, and I believe that they're plenty happy to go along with this. And it's the same thing with the drugs and guns. How this became a bigger industry than guns and drugs, because to me, that's the real, like, Central American drugs and gun thing or something like that. I didn't even, you know, that's another thing about this movie that I wish had been done a little differently. And believe me, there's no criticism. This is 2.5 hours of nonstop dynamite material. But the whole thing took place in Central and South America. So Americans watching this movie, it's kind of distant for them.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's like when they had the tsunami in Sri Lanka. You sort of couldn't even find that on a map. It was east somewhere of India, and there's a lot of people, the water went over there, and here's these kids in an impoverished neighborhood taken to another crazy hellhole.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, if they had kids being pulled out of Midwestern United States and taken to San Francisco, there'd be the people would have the pitchforks and they'd be storming the big mill right now.
Yeah.
But
So you think if the movie if it was based in, let's say, Los Angeles or the States, you think it would have had a different response?
Even more impact. But I don't know. I mean, they made the movie. It was based on a true story of Tim Ballard, and he did this. And you know, that's another thing that gave it tremendous impact. It's one thing to make a Dracula movie, right? It's a horrible guy, but you know it's not real. But the fact that this is a portrayal of a real thing, and that Tim Ballard was a real hero, and Jim Caviezel did portray him very well. And I'll tell you why I think that he portrayed him well. Because when you see these guys in interviews now, they're damaged. They lived in a horrible, horrible world. And even Jim, who didn't do this, his portrayal of it, this is why, you know, they ask, is there any faith-based aspect of this? These men need grounding somewhere. Otherwise, the world is the most horrible place and there's no redemption. So to be doing God's work, at least you have some amount of orientation, some amount of grounding, some amount of moral authority. Otherwise, I can hardly believe that they did it. Tim Ballard, that he did this? Can you imagine going in the woods of Colombia?
All of a sudden, I'm hit by this tidal wave, this tsunami of darkness. And I know I'm the sadness in her eyes. Me. I'm the darkness.
So how would you define a faith-based movie? And would you say that this is a faith-based movie?
Well, first of all, let me say this. There is nothing wrong with a faith-based movie. That's not a detracting thing. They can do that. They can make a movie any way they want. Now, in our country, there are millions and millions of people who have faith-based lives.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
I don't consider it a faith-based movie at all, but to call everybody, but these children, they said these are children of God. Well, we all are, right? So it's not, to me, there's no agenda there, you know, and even if there were, it's a positive one, you know? So if they want to call it that, I'm okay with them calling it that. I don't think it's a bad thing. Some people think they want to dismiss it for that reason because they're agnostic or atheistic or whatever they may be, just contrarians, you know. Oh, you believe in this? I don't.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of a moot issue.
Okay.
Really,
Yeah.
if you want to enjoy the faith-based aspect of it and it means something to you, it should be included, and it was. But they certainly didn't beat you over the head with it. No.
I didn't think it was very preachy to me at all. You know, there was a few lines that referenced God, and I felt like it flowed with the story completely. It wasn't over the top or anything.
And I give them credit because Jim Caviezel, in his own life, his dedication to his religion is so strong. His desire to inject that into the movie must have been omnipresent. But he did his job as an actor, and he whatever the director told him.
So he was down there talking to their side of their government, saying, do you understand when this film comes out? It's going to shine a light on you.
You are. Good job.
This is the people's movie. God bless you.
Absolutely. Meanwhile,
thanks, America.
And right now you see the world changing. You're going to have to make a decision at some point. There's good, there's evil.
You know, we watched the movie, and I just hope that real action is taken. I would like to see this acknowledged. And all my life, I've seen people like Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell has written decade after decade the solutions to our nation's problems. And yet you never see a guy go into Congress and go, wow, did you see this thing Thomas Sowell wrote? This is the answer to our problem. Let's just all vote for this and make the whole country better. You know, so the fact that problems are pointed out, solutions are brought forward, and they're not acted on just drives me nuts. Immigration has to be immediately, completely halted. Okay. This will break the back of the cartel industry because the money, the billions of dollars, the $150 billion, the money that they're making is so huge that to even cut off any part of that would be a good first step.
When you have interviews with like Jim Caviezel and Alex Jones and they're talking about topics like this, do you think that hurts the movie's success and makes it kind of a loony thing? Or do you think that broadens the audience?
No, I think it doesn't affect it at all.
Okay.
The movie is so powerful on its own that there's so much to take from it that to focus on that and try to deny the movie because of that, I don't think anybody could watch that movie and say, well, if Alex Jones has an issue, I'm out. Yeah. Of course, there are the contrarians. There are the people that no matter what happens, they're going to not they're not going to learn the lesson or see the forest for the trees. You know,
Just stepping away from the message, what do you think of these crowdfunding type of opportunities does for the future of filmmaking?
obviously it's wonderful. You know, because you have then you have a society of people that are interested in the issue. You know, whatever the issue is, even if it's just a fun thing. And you can actually see the way society leans by how much society supports these things.
And do you think it takes power away from the studios?
I would like that.
Yeah.
I like independent filmmaking. I like people to look the film studio, the big film studios, they do a fantastic job. You can't make Avatar without like 10,000 people working on it. They make something, a product that's inconceivably complex and perfected.
Yeah.
You see these movies, you don't see a single flaw. But they won't make certain movies, flawed or unflawed. I would rather see a B movie or a C movie that is something that I would like to see expressed than a fantastic production of something that I really don't care about. Now, the Indiana Jones movie, I went to see that, right? It came out at the same time. I saw it days later. It was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, was it? I haven't
seen it yet. The special effects were so good, it was insane. But I didn't care about the story at all.
Okay.
Right? The Tim Ballard movie, Jim Caviezel, you know, that whole thing, Mira Sorvino, they had a lot less money. They made a flawless movie. The movie is just as flawless as the Indiana Jones movie, but it had a value. It just wasn't mindless entertainment, and I love mindless entertainment. And there's a place in my life.
Time and a place for it.
But I don't want it to be that's all there is. You know, and I also don't want indoctrination. So Hollywood, they get an agenda. And then suddenly all the movies are about this, and it may be that a minority of 5% of the people are interested in this, but they bombard you with it and they make it inescapable, and that's not fair. That's wrong. So they can do it. We have capitalism. That's the movie. I mean, Hollywood has made movies that cost a lot of money and totally flopped because nobody wanted to see it.
Sound of Freedom opens the week of July 4th. Every parent, every adult, and every teenager in America should be there to see it.
So 1 through 10, what would you rate this movie?
Oh, it's got to be a 10. It couldn't be anything. It couldn't be anything but. It's an incredible portrayal of a true story with an immediately necessary moral message. What more do you want? You know,
more explosions, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's Indiana Jones. They had nonstop explosions.
Well, thanks for going over this movie with me.
Well, Shane, thank you for joining me. I'll see you again.